On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla Motors unofficial podcast, Supercharging will soon stop being free for life for new orders, but it still seems like a pretty good deal. Meanwhile, the Model S and X each get minor but interesting design studio changes, the Model 3 makes another public appearance with a couple new changes, and more. Welcome, friends. It is episode 67 of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla Motors unofficial podcast for November 13th, 2016. I'm Ryan McCaffrey, joined, as always, fortunately, by the restless but nevertheless healthy Maggie the Boxer. Just a quick update for you because so many of you have kindly reached out on email, on Twitter, over the phone to express your sympathies and encouragement for Maggie. Fortunately, she is doing better. She actually, since I last recorded a show last week, I actually spoke to the vet, whereas before it had just been email results over the weekend when I recorded last week's show, and he was genuinely confounded. He really thought, like, how does this dog not have cancer? I mean, it was in a totally nice way, but I could actually tell, and I even mentioned it to him on the phone, like it was like, no offense, but you actually sound like kind of surprised by this, and he acknowledged that, yeah, like this, it doesn't happen often. It does happen, but it does not happen often where a case like Maggie's results in a non-cancer diagnosis. So still no idea where this lesion came from, how it got there, if it just whatever, but the anti-inflammatories are in full effect. Unfortunately, I don't remember if I mentioned this last week, the side effect, which I was warned about, it would make her thirstier. And so she's having to pee a lot more, and unfortunately, apparently the medication is such that she really can't wait to pee, so we've had a few accidents in the house, which is certainly not the norm for a 10-year-old house-trained dog, but it's a small price to pay, and we're just making sure to leave the door open to the back, and small price to pay to have my healthy dog back, or at least a dog that's on the mend, so she's sitting there right now looking at me with both paws just kind of off her bed like, come on, this is the time we're supposed to go for a walk. I'm recording on Saturday afternoon today as the wife and kid went off to visit some friends. So, Maggie, it's just you and me, and we'll go out after I record this, I promise. So, with that, let's get to the Tesla news. Oh, by the way, real quick, I wanted to just thank everybody out there. I'm very careful. I never want to take the audience for granted because this podcast is, as I've said, a total one-man operation. And I really did it just out of my own enthusiasm. And the fact that so many people have taken an interest and a liking to it is very, very humbling. I had, once again, my biggest single download day ever last week after episode 66 came out, as well as now episode 66 is the most downloaded episode of all of the 66 so far episodes. So if you're a new listener, if you're one of the new folks, clearly some new people checking it out, just thank you. Thank you for giving it a try, and thank you for trusting me with approximately an hour of your time each week. If you're new, I hope you'll stick around. I hope you like what you hear regardless. But anyway, I just wanted to express that quick note of gratitude on my part. Now, as to Tesla, it's been, once again, a fairly busy week. Most weeks seem to be reasonably busy with this company, usually in a good, fun way. And this week, it's kind of up to you to decide how fun this first story is, but it is, in my opinion, the biggest news story of the week, and that is the change to the supercharger policy. Now, this is not coming out of the blue for those of you who do listen to this show, because I reported, it must have been about a couple months ago now, Electrek broke the story with the rumor that the supercharger program would be changing and that it would be going to a credits program, a sort of a la carte, or rather a pay-per-use program. And it has, in fact, done that. Tesla sent out the official release. But it's turned out, in my opinion, better than the rumors. Now, obviously, my perspective is one of not being an owner yet, and someone who's going to have a Tesla in the form of the Model 3, not someone who has one already or is looking to buy one very soon. So others of you may feel differently. I mean, existing owners, you guys are fine. If you have a Tesla right now, you will get supercharging free for the entire life of your car. That will not change. But for the rest of us, existing cars and existing orders, provided you take delivery by April 1st, April Fool's Day of 2017, as I said, you will still get free supercharging for life. But every car ordered after January 1st of 2017 will no longer get free supercharging for life, and that includes all of us Model 3 reservation holders, because of course, reservations are not orders, and so we're not grandfathered in on this. However, what we are going to get is 400 kilowatt hours, which is Tesla says is approximately 1,000 miles worth of supercharging access free every year. Presumably, it's going to be a use it or lose it situation, kind of like my sick days at work. And you can't, meaning you presumably can't roll them over into the following year. But if you think about that, I know it all varies based on where you live and where you're going, what you want to do, but that's approximately 1 to 2 road trips per year on average. You know, again, some of you that's half a road trip, but I got to figure that's 1 to 2 road trips per year for most folks, and I've got to believe that should take care of a lot of customers, myself included. I mean, I had done the math a while back, and it came out, the pay-per-use model came out as seemingly more economically beneficial to someone like me, using, the occasional, maybe, like I said, once a year Disney kind of road trip, which is about 800 miles round trip or so. But if you need more than the free 400 kilowatt hours per year, you'll be paying an undetermined amount, but one that Tesla says will be, quote, less than the price of filling up a comparable gas car, and one that Tesla acknowledges may fluctuate over time based on the electricity prices in your region. But Tesla does specifically want to point out, quote, our supercharger network will never be a profit center, which is exactly the same thing they said about service. And so far, that seems to have borne out rather accurately. Tesla's been good about taking care of people and taking care of their cars. Now, again, I'm totally fine with this as a reservation-holding future Model 3 owner, because, again, I just think this will cover most people. I think this will definitely cover me. And if I need more than that, then yeah, okay, it's reasonable to pay whatever. Let's say a comparable gas car is probably going to be 25 miles per gallon. So comparable price for if you use the superchargers correctly, you're really not supposed to be filling up all the way. So let's say, maybe each supercharger stop on your trip, and how many, what are you going to make, 2-3 supercharger stops each way on average if you're going on a road trip? That's going to cost you maybe $30, $40 per stop. That's not that bad, all things considered. Now, I also believe that now is absolutely the right time to do this, because Tesla can't let any Model 3s in on this, or else what of course would happen is that every other Model 3 owner, and remember that there are going to be hundreds of thousands and eventually millions of us, would get pretty mad if and when it were turned into a pay-per-use model and some Model 3 owners got it. That's just going to create an unpleasant political situation, amongst Model 3 reservation holders. It's like, well, it's just because I live on this coast and couldn't get my car. So, it would just get messy, in my opinion. So I do think this is the right time to do this for Tesla. You're getting it out of the way now so that everybody can get comfortable with the new system. Plus, any potential bad press out of this, which it didn't really seem like there was any. News outlets did pick this up. But really the take on it, everything I saw was fairly neutral, and in some cases, in fact, positive. So you get any of the press on this out of the way before the model launch, so that it's not a distraction. Because once the Model 3 is coming out, you don't want any distractions if you're Tesla Motors. You want the focus to be on the car and how hopefully good the car is, and not on some secondary thing like, oh, but the supercharging, they just changed it, so it's not free for life anymore. You don't want that if you're Tesla. So now does seem like a pretty good time here. If indeed we're looking at T-minus approximately 12 to 13 months until the first Model 3 deliveries, maybe less, if Elon actually stays on delivery target, which again, I love and respect the heck out of Elon, but it would be the first time for any of the current, any of the 4 cars. The first 3 cars have not shipped on time. So we'll see. And I'll tell you, while I'm still, the other thought I had about this topic before I move on, while I'm still holding out hope that the quote-unquote something special that Elon promised for us March 31st, day 1 Model 3 reservation holders, back when he replied to my tweet last week, which if you listened to last week's show, you heard that, I wonder if it's possible that something special might either be free supercharging for life for the day 1 reservation holders. That would be a very, very cool token of appreciation for those of us that camped out and waited in line. And it wouldn't necessarily cost Tesla a lot of money, honestly. Or probably more realistically, because usually you think about, oh, wouldn't that be great? It's usually not quite as the bonus thing you're hoping for is usually not quite as good in reality as it is in your head. But maybe it would be something like twice as many free, maybe it's 800 free kilowatt hours per year for the day 1, for the March 31st Model 3 reservation holders. Of course, again, I'm probably still getting my hopes up too high, but it's nice to daydream about, right? On the note of this topic of supercharging, I wanted to take a call here from Austin in Petaluma, who is a little concerned about this. So let's go to Austin. Sir, you are on the air.
Hey Ryan, it's Austin calling in from Petaluma, California. I'm calling in to comment on Tesla's recent blog post about the updates to its supercharging program. I'm honestly not surprised to see Tesla going in this direction, particularly after the leak of the energy credits on the My Tesla webpage. My main hope remains that supercharging will remain free when you purchase the vehicle and that you pay per use as opposed to having to pay several $1,000s for supercharging and then pay again for the use of the supercharging stations. I knew that the free ride for unlimited supercharging in Teslas wouldn't last forever, and I expected to pay per use with my Model 3, but this double charge, in a sense, from my point of view, is definitely not as exciting. I'd definitely like to know your take on this, Ryan. Thanks again for the great show. Look forward to it every week.
Austin, thank you for the call. Austin, in fact, actually emailed his call in. That's why they've got that nice, sweet, extra high quality there. So I've been, several of you, more and more folks have been doing that. So if you don't want to use the toll-free number, you can record it onto your phone or through your computer and go ahead and email it to me that way, teslapodcast@gmail.com. If you don't want the pressure of having to get it right on a voicemail, you are welcome to email in your call. And I'll tell you, Austin, I suppose, I wonder if this is the elimination of free supercharging for life, if this is the sort of the rumored $2,000 price increase that we've been hearing about for a little while. The price, in fact, meaning the price stays the same and supercharging is no longer free for life, unless I could be wrong. And maybe the price is still going to be going up $2,000 sometime in the next little while here, which would effectively make it kind of like a $4,000 price increase. So we'll see, but a good call from you there, Austin. Moving on this week, Nick Hoffman, longtime listener here and longtime Patreon supporter. Nick Hoffman pointed out some design studio changes this week to the Model S and Model X. So if you're in the market, pay attention here. The Model S now offers the premium white seats. Those are the same ones found in the Model X with the white interior, which is the synthetic leather. It looks and feels just like leather, but it is in fact not. It's very supple. It's very nice. I mean, it's exactly what I would choose. Really now with either car. I was going to say if I were getting a Model X, but if either car I would choose the white because it's now available rather on the 90D as well as the Performance, the P100D. When the ultra white interior was introduced into the Model S very recently with the P100D, it was only available on the P100D Ludicrous. So it is now being offered on the 90D as well. Still not available on the 75 or the 60 for whatever reason. But for you prospective Model S owners, if you are planning on a 90D, or if this could be enough to push you over into a 90D, you've got the option for the premium white seats and interior. On the Model X side, the changes are a little bit more, I won't say drastic necessarily, but let's say more numerous. Tesla has completely revamped the interior options for the Model X, and what I mean by that is they've put them all into bundles. So you can't just mix and match practically any interior you want now. There's still a good number of choices here, but it's been divided up into 5 interior combination categories. You have white, which will get you those ultra white seats with the dark ash wood decor trim and black Alcantara headliner. You have the choice of black, which is black leather seats, figured ash wood decor, which is the lighter, more sort of naturally wood-looking trim, and black Alcantara headliner. Black with light headliner, which is the same exact thing except with the light Alcantara headliner. Tan, which is tan leather seats, the figured ash wood, which again is the lighter one, and the light Alcantara headliner. And finally, the multi-pattern black, if you don't want the leather or the synthetic white, you can choose multi-pattern black fabric seats, which will get you those seats as well as a plain black fabric headliner. It's not an Alcantara headliner with dark ash wood decor. And now if you're sitting there thinking, oh man, that's a little limiting. Well, there is one little extra nugget to this. Any of those can be swapped out to have the carbon fiber trim for an extra $250. So the carbon fiber is still offered, but the rest of them are sort of locked to respective seat colors and interior combinations. As to why Tesla did this, I would have to imagine that it was done for assembly line efficiency. I mean, we've seen it throughout Tesla's life, certainly, of course, notably since the launch of the Model S, and since the birth of the Tesla factory, we've been seeing Tesla tweak and adjust the options as time has gone on, and we've of course heard a lot in recent months, well, really throughout 2016, from Elon Musk about the machine that makes the machine, which, by the way, we're going to talk more about in a second. And the factory actually being the important thing and being able to become 100 times more efficient than they are now and all this. And this is probably another little step in that direction, because I would venture a guess that they didn't just make this choice they didn't just draw combinations out of a hat and go, okay, white's going to go with dark ash wood interior. No. I suspect that the Model X interior combinations are bundled together the way they are because Tesla, of course, has reams of data that show the most common interior combinations that people have ordered. So I suspect that what we're seeing in the design studio now is likely those most commonly ordered combinations. And again, as for the S, I think it's great to see the ultra white seats offered on the 90D instead of, because really when they were locked to the P100D, you just had, that was such a step up in price. There's such a huge price gap now between the 90D and the P100D that if you wanted those white seats, it was going to cost you a whole bucket full of cash and then some. But on the X, I would be okay with this whole refresh, because I personally would want white in my Model X, and so I'd be totally good with either the dark ash wood or the upgrade to the carbon fiber. Either of those would be fine with me. So something to take note of if you are in the market for an S or an X. I mentioned a minute ago the machine that builds the machine that Elon's been talking a lot about lately, particularly this year. And Tesla has bought out a German company to help build the machine that makes the machine. The company is called Grohmann Engineering. And here's an excerpt from Tesla's press release. They say, after increasing our output target to 500,000 cars per year by 2018, we began searching for the best engineering talent in automated manufacturing systems. Today, we are excited to announce that Tesla has entered into an agreement to acquire Grohmann Engineering, a world-renowned engineering company in Prüm, Germany, which will become Tesla Grohmann Automation. Led by founder and CEO Klaus Grohmann, Grohmann Engineering is one of the world leaders in highly automated methods of manufacturing. This transaction will bring Mr. Grohmann's leadership, a world-class team, and unique expertise in-house. Moreover, it will serve as the initial base for Tesla Advanced Automation Germany headquarters, with other locations to follow. We expect to add over 1,000 advanced engineering and skilled technician jobs in Germany over the next 2 years. My takeaway from this is that maybe it's wishful thinking on my part, but it seems like everything is moving on schedule for the Model 3 so far. Remember, too, that the first Model 3s are going to be developed by, as Elon has phrased it a couple times, version 0.5 of the so-called Alien Dreadnought factory before they eventually get to Alien Dreadnought 1.0. So the timing of all that feels pretty good. If they're going to start manufacturing cars in about 9, 10, 11 months from now, that feels pretty good. Speaking of Germany, Tesla has unbundled some options off of the cars in order to qualify for a discount, an EV incentive in Germany. The country there recently started up a new electric vehicle incentive program. It offers a 4,000 euro discount when you buy an electric vehicle, provided the base price of the EV is under 60,000 euros. Now, up until this move by Tesla, the Model S did not sneak under that. Now it will, because Tesla took a bunch of what are standard features over here in North America, and they lumped them all together in a 5,200 euro comfort package, and they're selling that as an option. I mean, the cost is they just took everything. The price of the car is not higher. They just took everything and broke it off into an option package so that they could qualify, so that customers in Germany could qualify for this 4,000 euro discount. To give you an idea, some of the items in this comfort package that Tesla has moved off here in order to skirt around this little law is the GPS navigation, rear-facing camera, parking sensors, home link for your garage, memory seats, internet radio, blind spot warning, folding mirrors, and a few others. Now, for those of you who remember the early days of the Model S, that should sound fairly familiar because a lot of that stuff was in the tech package in the early days. And in fact, the stuff that wasn't, everything I mentioned that wasn't in the tech package at one point was an a la carte item that you had to order separately for a while. The parking sensors were separate. They were a $500 option for a little while. I believe the folding mirrors might have also been an option for a little while before they became standard. But to me, this is an example of where Tesla, being a very, very nimble car company, which we've seen from them a lot, and especially compared to a lot of other car companies, it's where that it really benefits them. And in this case, obviously, the real winner is customers in Germany. I think this is a very, very smart move by Tesla. Good on them for reacting quickly and being able to serve their prospective customers in Germany and make the cars even more appealing to German consumers. Finally, this week, Model 3 showed up, the prototype, the silver prototype, the same one I rode in, one of two working prototypes that were at the Model 3 reveal event. The other one, of course, was the matte black car with those aero wheels. But the silver prototype, the one they've been doing most of the photography and most of the public showings with, it made another appearance at a Tesla company appreciation party that they held and invited everyone and their families to at a soccer stadium in San Jose, California, just on the other side of the bay from the factory, and also fairly close, just down 280 a bit from the Deer Creek headquarters in Palo Alto. So they had everybody together for a big Q3 appreciation party, and the Model 3 prototype was there. It was just cordoned off, but a lot of pictures were posted of it online, and we got to see a couple of neat little things. Nothing really newsworthy here, but I'll just pass along that the car had a new steering wheel attached to it. It wasn't that, in my opinion, awkward-looking two-prong steering wheel. It had a more traditional three-prong steering wheel attached to it. But that steering wheel didn't have any buttons on it. Instead, it just had the two scroll wheels, like the S and X both have, but without the two, the actual physical buttons that are on the S and X steering wheel. So that was kind of interesting. And then the other thing that I noticed from the photographs was a very clever, very cool touch that I really, really hope makes it to production. And that's the Model 3 logo. It's the three horizontal lines with, and each of the three bars is sort of, the edges are cut at sort of a downward tilt a little bit, if you can picture what I'm talking about. If you can't remember what I'm talking about, just go to Tesla's website and click on the Model 3 section and you'll be reminded quickly. But that exact logo is cut out on the brake pedal. So the brake pedal, it's an aluminum, silver aluminum metal brake pedal, as well as an accelerator pedal as well. But the brake pedal has the cutout in the middle of it of the Model 3 logo. So to the kind of untrained eye, it just looks like, kind of like a style thing. Like, it's a metal pedal, but, because most brake pedals have some sort of little design on them, whether it's just like a simple, what's the term I'm looking for? Just sort of a cut into rubber square rectangles just for grip, or there's usually some kind of pattern. And in this case, Tesla has put the Model 3 logo itself on the brake pedal, which I thought was a really, really cool, subtle touch. So I hope that makes it to production. And on a side note, by the way, I think it's very, very cool of Tesla to hold a party like that for the whole company and their families after they asked. I mean, Elon, you remember the email that leaked out that Elon sent to the entire company where, Elon asked a lot of everyone in the company in that huge Q3 push, which was successful. They were profitable, and that was so important for Tesla to do. So I think it's fantastic that Tesla held an appreciation event for the employees. That's really, really great of them. All right, that will do it for this week's news. I'm going to come right back. As usual, got a good handful of excellent calls from the Ride the Lightning hotline for you right after this. Welcome back, and it's time for the Ride the Lightning hotline, the part of the show where you participate with your questions, comments, discussion topics. You can call in anytime, day or night, because you're just leaving a voicemail. That toll-free number, call or Skype, and it's 1-888-989-8752. That's 1-888-989-TSLA, if that helps you remember it a little better. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. And a reminder that last weekend, a huge edition of the Patreon-exclusive bonus episode for all you $10 and up pledgers went up, and it included Robert from Boulder, Jay from LA, Lawton from Chicago, Joe from Northwest Indiana, Thomas from SoCal, Ralph from LA, Mark from Vermont, Keith from San Diego, Greg from Sydney, and Joe Willett from Michigan. So check that out if you are a Patreon pledger and you haven't listened to any of those bonus episodes yet. We start off with Jay from Australia, who comments on the Model 3's possible solar roof that we talked about last week, and maybe a reason why we shouldn't get quite super excited about it just yet. So Jay, you're on the air.
Hi Ryan, it's Jay from Canberra, Australia. Just wanted to leave a comment and probably some reality basing on the idea of putting like solar panels in the roof of your vehicle. The sun puts out about 1 kilowatt of energy per square meter on the ground in optimal conditions, obviously optimal altitude, latitude, and also no overcast. A normal photovoltaic panel is about 20% efficient, so you're getting around 200 watts out of that square meter. What this means in terms of a vehicle is that in an absolute best case situation of an optimally orientated panel sitting on the roof of your car, in 5 hours of sunlight, you'll get 1 kilowatt hour of energy in your car. So if you've got an 80 kilowatt hour battery, you've charged it 1/80th. So the idea, it sounds great, but pragmatically, it's barely a trickle charge. It might be useful in extreme emergencies if you get stuck somewhere, but that's the absolute possible best it could be. If there's overcast, if your car has any shading, if it's not optimally angled towards the sun, it's going to be a lot worse than that. So it's really not a pragmatic solution. I think Musk was really being a bit just joking when he was talking about actual PV in the roof of the car, because it just doesn't really add a lot compared to the cost and how you're going to manage it. But cool idea if we had better efficient solar panels. But keep up the good work. Cheers, bye.
Thank you for that call, Jay. I knew it wasn't a game changer, but I have to say thank you, because you really quantified exactly how minimally beneficial a solar roof on the Model 3 would appear to be. It's interesting that you think Elon's joking. Like, that's how little benefit it would seem to provide that leads you to that conclusion. But, I mean, I'm not so sure if Elon's joking, because if anything, in the worst case scenario, a solar roof is free advertising for Tesla's solar business. So, it's like you get that on your car and you think, oh, it's helping power my car. Maybe I should get it for my house. So, it could just be for marketing. I mean, Elon's never really been that kind of executive where he does things, he doesn't seem to do things unless there is an actual tangible benefit. But I just wonder if Elon has something else up his sleeve with this. Maybe not. I mean, maybe it is more of a marketing ploy for Solar City. Regardless, by the way, the merger vote is coming up this coming week here on the 17th, I believe it is. But you're not necessarily, I'm not willing to dismiss you, or your theory, that is, because Elon does joke around on Twitter, and he has an interesting sense of humor sometimes on the conference calls and at public speaking events. So it's entirely possible that he is just sort of joking about all this. But I guess we'll find out soon enough, one way or the other. I'm going to go now to Walter from Vancouver Island in Canada. He wanted to comment on a call from last week about getting the car delivered to you versus picking it up at the factory, and how Summon could actually benefit that. So, Walter, take it away.
Hey, Ryan. It's Walter calling from Vancouver Island, Canada again. Just two quick comments. One of your callers last week was asking whether whether you plan to get your vehicle delivered to your house or picked up at the factory and the pros and cons of either. I've been a firm believer for quite a while now, ever since Tesla showed off that automatic snake supercharging cord, that the future of Tesla car deliveries is probably going to be autonomous. They've got these superchargers all over the continent right now, and these cars at some point, not necessarily on the first release of the Model 3, but at some point could very well be leaving the factory and charging en route and arriving at your door without any form of transport bringing them along. The electric semi-truck also is a possibility in that for longer distances, but living in the Bay Area, the idea that the vehicle might be delivered on the back of a truck as opposed to just driving itself autonomously is an interesting concept. Anyway, really love the podcast. Have yourself a great week.
Thank you, Walter. I'm actually going to play real quick. Ramy from the Netherlands has a comment rather on a similar topic, so I'll reply to both of you at once. Ramy, you're on the air.
Hey Ryan, this is Ramy from the Netherlands. I wanted to chime in on the topic of getting your car delivered to your home. You discussed with James last week, the caller from last week. I think it would be just an awesome idea that the Tesla would not be delivered to your home by a truck, but by itself. I mean, it's a self-driving car after all. So that would be the perfect option for me. I don't live anywhere near a factory, so for me that would be just awesome. Just look at my Tesla app, see that my car is ready. It's coming to me wherever I am at that moment, and it's getting delivered to my home or office. I hope to hear your thoughts about that. I do realize that we early reservation holders won't get this option, but I think sometime in the future this should be possible, and I do think that this is Elon Musk's ultimate plan to get all future Teslas delivered to your home driving themselves, so you don't have the cost of renting a truck or something like that. That would be just great. I hope to hear your thoughts about this. Thank you for your podcast. I love to listen to it every week.
Thank you for the calls, gentlemen. Now, neither of you are the first person to float this theory about summon deliveries, and I'm totally on board with it. But, just trying to think through it, one problem with it that I see. What about liability in case anything goes wrong while the car is autonomously en route to you, while it's delivering itself to you? What if a rock flies up and takes out a chunk of paint or cracks the windshield? What if another car hits it and your car is damaged in transit? What about the, because I think about that because I'm one of these really obsessed nutcases with protecting my cars and taking good care of my cars, where I've read enough accounts from S and X owners on the Tesla Motors Club forums that I want to hopefully be able to set aside enough money when I buy the car, when I buy my Model 3, to do paint correction, to correct all the blemishes from the factory, Opticoat to seal it down, and full expel wrap over the entire car to help, again, protect the finish. I want to maximize the protection on that finish. The things you discuss are not unsolvable issues, guys, but I think they are issues nevertheless. Thank you both for the call. Vi from Vegas now calling in about the Tesla network, wondering what happens, kind of a similar thing. What happens if someone hits the car? Vi, take it away.
Hey, Ryan, it's Vahu from Vegas again. I'm going to try to get through this quick. I know you're in your 90-second thing. I'm just calling with a concern for Model 3. I'm like you, when the rideshare comes available, I don't want somebody in my car that I don't know without me in it, but I will use it for my family. My concern is I haven't heard anything about, let's say my car drops me off at work and I tell my car to go home. Now, what happens if somebody hits that car? Just wondering if it'll give me an alert or, you know what I mean? It's just, there's a lot of question marks in that department. people on the road see a car driving by itself, kids will probably want to mess with it and see how if it reacts, if they swerve towards it or something like that. Just kind of wondering your opinion on that. And for supercharging, not necessarily a concern, but I have all the faith in Elon that he will come up with an amazing solution of having charging stations, more like the gas stations like you guys were just talking about last week, probably powered by Powerwall, the whole Tesla station, and figure out a way of charging them faster than what they're charging now. One thought that I did have is I know when you set up trips, it will tell you should charge here at this time, things like that. For a short-term fix, if you had the ability to set a reservation of, you will be arriving at that supercharger station at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if you could reserve a bay for 45 minutes, so that way it could communicate back to the Tesla hub and send it out to all the other Teslas, letting them know, like, hey, this Tesla supercharging station is all booked up for the next couple hours. Maybe take this route instead and make a reservation at this charging station instead. Just a thought. I think that would be an easier fix for them for now before Model 3 comes. And once Model 3 comes, I'm sure there's going to be a whole other heap of problems that they will fix in time. Besides that, I hope MTB is doing really good, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Vi, thank you for the love shown to MTB, as you guys have taken to calling her, which I think is adorable. She's sleeping right now. She got back to work at her volunteering gig this week and did very well. And the kids that we read with in the reading program didn't even didn't know that she was in such a scary scenario just a week prior. So thank you for your concern and well wishes there. As to your question, we've talked about how the autonomous driving situation is going to require an update to how insurance companies do business. They're going to have to learn how to deal with this. But I have to say, you raised the added point about an accident. Fortunately, remember that the cars going forward now all have 40 times more processing power and 8 cameras that can see all around the car. So I would really have to imagine / hope that Tesla's going to use those cameras and log a bit of footage in the event of any detected accident, whether it's driverless or not. As for the supercharger congestion, a reservation system seems like it could get abused in the sense of, and what I mean by that is people not showing up when they're supposed to, thinking, oh, well, I've got a reservation for a supercharger stall, but I'm just going to get some ice cream first. So I do worry about that. But there's no reason that the car's map software couldn't at least tell you if you should expect a line at the supercharger like you suggested or reroute you because of it. Let's hope that functionality is added soonish. Okay, 2 more calls for you this week. The first one is from Eric in Chicago, talking about the $42,500 expected average sale price on Model 3 that Elon had previously mentioned, and how the hardware 2 and full self-driving capability might factor into that. So Eric, take it away.
Hey Ryan, this is Eric from Chicago. First off, let me say hats off to you for getting your question answered finally directly from Elon in an indirect way, that we will have something special for us March 31st reservation holders. I had a couple of thoughts listening to last week's show, and one of those was in regard to pricing on the full self-driving capability. And Elon had remarked a long time ago that he thought the average selling price for the Model 3 was going to be $42,500, which would be in line with about what they're asking for full self-driving capability. But I had an interesting thought as regards to funding that. With the advent of the Tesla network and everything like that, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if Tesla allowed Model 3 owners who couldn't necessarily afford the full self-driving off the bat to submit their cars to the self-driving fleet, thereby earning funds toward the full self-driving, Once they get there, once they've earned enough in ride sharing, you get a nice achievement unlocked on your Model 3 for full self-driving. So you could just fund the self-driving by the car taking ride-sharing trips, and then when you finally get it for yourself, then achievement unlocked. You've paid for the full thing through your car's efforts. Anyway, I just thought that would be so cool just to have that achievable for anyone, where you could just kind of fund it as you go. Anyway, love the podcast. Thanks for everything, man. You're great, and really excited about all this new stuff.
Eric, this is a really, really great idea, because it would be a way to encourage Tesla owners to use the Tesla network while at the same time promoting the use of sustainable transport, which, as nary a week goes by without me saying, is the primary goal, say it with me, of Tesla Motors and Elon Musk. So fantastic idea. I hope Tesla is listening if they don't already have that on their roadmap. Final call this week comes to us from Diego in Portland, who respectfully disagrees with me. I was a little down on the solar roof tile event from 2 or 3 weeks back. He is a little more bullish on it, and let's hear from him. Diego, take it away.
Hey Ryan, this is Diego in Portland. Just wanted to give you my reaction to the third quarter earnings call and the Tesla solar roof event. Regarding the solar roof, you mentioned you were kind of disappointed there were no details regarding costs. And I think that just had to do with the purpose of the event, which was to really show what the vision of the Tesla Solar City merger would have to offer. So they really don't need to provide any details at that point. It's just a vision that if this merger goes through, this is what you can expect. So I thought it was actually really well done. At first, initially, I was like, wow, there's a lot of information lacking, but why would they put that much effort into it if the companies haven't merged yet? So that's my reaction to the solar roof, which, by the way, Powerwall 2, I want one so badly. It looks really good and actually doable. So I'm really excited about Powerwall 2. And regarding the earnings call, it was a really good earnings call. A lot of the bears and shorts are pulling at straws to nitpick the statements, saying that they're only profitable because of the ZEV credits, and they're doing pulling financial tricks to make themselves look profitable. But in reality, other companies do the same thing to make them look profitable. They will buy back stock to boost earnings. It's no different. It's just part of being a public company. So I thought the third quarter results were actually really good, and I was very surprised to hear Elon saying that they are planning on being profitable in Q4. So here's to a good close of the year. All right. Thanks for everything you do. Bye.
Diego, you make a fair point about the vision versus the nitty-gritty details. I suppose, though, that since this is such a new thing, these solar roof tiles, as compared to a car, which you have a ballpark expectation for the cost associated with a car when you first see it in concept or prototype form, the solar roof is just so out there, in a cool way, by the way, that the lack of any real-world context for it, and by that I mean pricing, one of the things I was really complaining about, that's what just didn't sit super well with me. There's just no context, so I don't even know. I mean, I see what I'm looking at, but I don't have any context for what it means, how much it's going to cost me. Whereas when the Model 3 is trotted out, I think, oh, okay, well, I know what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at a smaller Model S with probably fewer bells and whistles. And of course, it's a bad example because Tesla had already said right in the Model 3 reveal event that the car was going to start at $35,000. But I'm very curious to find out the costs that are going to be associated with Solar Roof, which I wonder if it's even going to happen if the merger isn't approved. Now, I know Elon's been out there saying he's very confident it's going to pass, and I guess on next week's show, we'll be able to talk about the results of that, whether it's passed or not. That's the last of my calls this week. If you would like to give a ring, you can do so anytime. Toll-free, day or night, phone or Skype. The toll-free number is 1-888-989-8752. That's 1-888-989-TSLA. Or again, as I said, if you would rather just feel a little less pressure talking into your phone on the voice recorder and then just emailing me the file, you can do that too. Just send it on over to teslapodcast@gmail.com. All right, friends, I'll be right back to wrap things up for you right after this. I want to start by thanking my Patreon producers. These are the very, very kind souls who pledge $20 or more per month in support of the podcast, which, as I've told you, it's a lot goes into it each and every week, and I really appreciate these folks' support in particular. These folks are Jeff Bartram, Paul Hussey, DJ Harbaugh, Pete White, Wolfgang Obergen, George Cassiopo, ZL Klein, David Brander, the aforementioned Nick Hoffman, Ralph Weiss, Jonathan Wales, John Waltower, and Scott Gillis. You can visit the Patreon site for the podcast here at patreon.com. That's Patreon. Patreon.com/Tesla Podcast if you'd like to just see what the whole pledging and supporting the podcast thing is all about. You can follow me on Twitter at DMC_Ryan or email me teslapodcast@gmail.com. If you are in the market for Tesla accessories or some cool Tesla stuff for you non-owners, take a look at abstractocean.com, and they have kindly offered up a 20% discount code for listeners of this podcast. So when you've got everything you want in your cart, go to checkout and enter the coupon code RTL Podcast. That's all one word, RTL Podcast, to get 20% off of your order. Thank you so much to abstractocean.com for extending that very kind courtesy to my audience. Dave T's weekly Tesla newsletter will help keep you up to date on the week's happenings in Tesla in a very concise, fun, easy to keep track of email way. It's a newsletter sent to you each and every Friday. Sign up for free at teslaweekly.com. If you're looking for more of a daily Tesla news fix, might I suggest teslarati.com. Gene and Electric Jen and all the wonderful folks there are very supportive of this podcast, and they do a great job of keeping tabs on everything happening in the world of Tesla. Finally this week, if you are in the market for a Tesla, you heard earlier in the show how free supercharging for life is going to be going away at the first of the year. So if you've been on the fence and you're thinking, well, maybe now's the time, why don't you get yourself $1,000 off of your S or X? And to do that, put this into your browser. It's a short link, and it's ts.la/Michael2204. So what that's going to do is take you to the design studio, configure the car you want, order it, be done. You'll get $1,000 off. Michael from Millbrae will get the referral prizes, and I will get, courtesy of Michael, his raffle chances to win the ludicrous S or X that will be drawn at the end of the referral program. So everybody wins, or at least you win for sure in that scenario, and I'm content to just have the chance to win. That's all I'm looking for. All right, so if you're new to the show, why not subscribe to it and just get it automatically delivered to you each week? You can subscribe on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, TuneIn, or you can hit up the RSS feed on the hosting site, which is teslapodcast.libsyn, LIBSYN.com. For a now napping Maggie the Boxer, I'm about to say, see if I say WALK, she will wake up and pop her head up and be expecting it. So I'm not going to say the word, but that is what she and I are going to go do now on a very nice fall day here in San Francisco. I hope you're having a very nice day wherever you are. Again, thank you all so much for generously giving me, 45 minutes to an hour of your time, however long this episode ends up being. I really appreciate your time each and every week, as well as your support. Thank you all. I'll see you next week. Happy electric motoring.